Our conversation is on the life and death of President Mohammadu Buhari, and our guest is Dr. Augustine Okolie, who is the former State Director of National Orientation Agency. Good evening, Doctor.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
Okay, you're welcome. The former President of Nigeria, President Mohammadu Buhari, died in London. In a hospital in London yesterday, and we've been getting so many reactions due to this particular death. Some people are really excited, some Nigerians are really excited, and others are, grieving with the family. How do you feel about the death of Buhari?
Well, thank you so much for that question. My belief in God and the way I choose to worship, it is uncharacteristic of Africans to speak ill of the dead, those who have transited from this life to the life beyond. We see it as a transition. Okay. While you are here, of course, I also recognize the fact that we are in a transit camp. The earth life we are is like a transit camp. We are all pilgrims on our journey from our origin, passing through the earth and going back to our origin for a purpose. So that is where I see it. He's just like any other, to me, any other soul that have passed on. I'm not expecting any comments. I'm not expecting to also wear long faces. That does not mean we are not grieving, because as an earthly person, when we miss somebody, when we lose somebody, when somebody transits, if you don't grieve for the person, grieve for the family. And for those who are following him, they say he has a cult followership. That is it. So the challenge was that I didn't even get any inkling that he was. But at the time we thought he's dead, a long time ago, they say he's still living. At a point, some people got into trouble, trying to say that the man we see as our president is long dead. So, but he said he's also pained him. There was the day they were interviewing him. He said, I didn't like that claim that he's one man from Sudan. And so Jibril. So, those are what happens. But it depends on your worldview. It depends on your belief. It depends on how you look at the man, Buhari. I think when he was in the military, that infamous Buhari Idiagbo regime of 1984 to 1985, that is the time, if he had not come back, you have looked like a legend. You have looked more respectful. When people use integrity for him, I think they don't understand what is integrity. In office, because when you go to an office as high as the presidency, you have to be prepared. I don't think the second coming of Buhari as a politician, he was prepared for that job.
So how would you really compare the military rule and how it shaped him for his democratic rule as a president? Well,
as a leader, we have different kinds of leadership. We have autocratic leaders. We have leaders who are transformational leaders. We have transactional leaders, so it depends on the kind of leadership you're expecting from him. Meanwhile, leaders are not imposed on the people. Like when they came and they truncated the civilian administration in 1984, him and his colleagues, Abacha and Idiagbo, and a host of others, including IBB and co, when they came, because of what we perceived as corrupt regime then during the Alhaji Shehu Shagari era. I think this is the time we have seen truly corrupt regimes, that one just spilled into insignificance. Nobody can look at the people in office today and compare them. Shagari looks so saintly. Shagari looks so innocent. Shagari looks so even scared of touching national wealth, the brazen way you see people, convert public property, public wealth into their own, The other day, we were just saying the president, but it's just 2 years, less than 2 years along the line. It's no more just the way of mortals. I think it's a huge lesson for those who are living. It continues to remind us of God's injunction to do right while you are still living, to try to remove those little debts that you can in terms of doing good. Because in this creation where we are, what you sow is what you're going to reap. Sometimes when you sow what you're going to reap, you reap bountifully, whether it is good or bad. So I think people should learn from that. Those scary figures of the military, when in 1983, 84, 85, you see when people put on uniform. Fela used to say that uniform na cloth, because it's not the person, the persona is inside. It depends on your character. It depends on your preparedness. So when you just jump from khaki into office and mess up the whole system, it has impacted negatively on Nigeria. The way we think, the way we talk, the way we reason, they're still largely military. We still think and speak like the military. And they are not groomed for leadership. They are groomed for defense, for security, for maintaining the territorial integrity. So those things they do is an anomalous situation, like a military man coming to sit in an office of the president and pretending to be a leader. These days, even those we thought should know what to do are all prebenda. They are all about egocentric. They forget about their mortals, their perishables, just like all of us are perishable. So for me, when somebody have a transition, I pray for the person, I commiserate with the family, just like that, not grieving or mourning or crying or shouting. My belief don't believe that crying for just missing the person, being fleshy, being ordinary canal and banal by crying and shouting. So I don't think that is what we should do. We should pray for him. By now he must have been, put under 6 feet. And we will now pray that God should, according to their own injunctions. But for me, he still have started a journey that we don't know when it will terminate, depending on what he has planted in creation when he was alive.
All right. Thank you. Some stakeholders, some Nigerians believe that the former president, Buhari, was a man that championed discipline in the public service, and also looking at the way he was after anti-corruption as an agenda. Would you say he did very well in those sectors, looking at the impact coming from the military?
Well, you know that the military is made of discipline.
Yeah.
That starts jackboot discipline. Obey the last order. Follow your leader. Just like somebody did a song, a zombie. When they tell you to stop, you stop. That's the type of discipline they are talking about. You can't impose it on the people. That type of discipline is anomalous. They don't just impose discipline. People learn it. They live it through orientation, through training, and through experience. But when people come and begin to force you to do frog jump and think that is discipline, they're not disciplining the person. That's why the following day, you can come back to your old ways. Discipline is learned over time. It is inculcated in people. How to do things right. What about the queuing up? What about the decree 4? Forcing people, when you say the right thing, if it embarrasses government, whether it is correct or not, you face the music. What about shooting people? The capital punishment of shooting people because either they are traders. When you remember Bartholomew Lawan Lojulokwe of those days, when you remember the activists, the environmental activists, how the military, dispatch people, but they're also afraid to die. So they call it discipline. For me, that is not discipline. Discipline is, it's a systemic thing. It is inculcated. People are trained to be disciplined. You can't bring 200 million people and try to run down instructions like a military camp. So that's what they call discipline, but that is not discipline for me. And they can see that They are getting worse. Nobody learned discipline after 2 or 3 years, after 9 years. So the military are also not disciplined from the way they conduct themselves. When they come to the civilian administration, you see that they are not disciplined. They are about a temperament, sanguine, melancholic. These are temperaments. When you are young, you are tempered when you get up to colic level, age. And when you become phlegmatic, like his age now, it's not the way he's talking when he was 40-something, 41, 42. When he was, they came imposing themselves on the entire country. I mean the military. But they're even much better than the military of today. So, talking about all those discipline, those are, slogans. Discipline is, is learned, is experienced. They get it from training, from the house to school, through life. You become disciplined, orderliness, because they say even in heaven, there is order. So, but the military try to force it. They try to enforce it. They try to ram it down. So for me, it is not natural. That's not natural discipline.
Okay. Why?
Because Nigeria did not learn anything from all those, all those way of forcing people. We didn't learn this when did we?
Okay, so when Buhari was still the president of Nigeria, there was a time he went on a 7 weeks leave where he traveled to the UK for medical attention, and that was when it was rumored that our president was not the same. That was when they rumored that he was dead, and it was Jibril that came from South Sudan. And now, when he died in the UK, still on this medical situation where he died in the hospital. Does this not give us an insight of how bad we lack infrastructure in Nigeria, whereby we have our leaders that govern us leave the same country that they are ruling over to a different place to seek medical attention when they could actually bring these facilities here other than traveling out of the country? I
get it very clearly. You can see when you talk about discipline, speaking truth to the people, and then having citizenship engagement as a president, become transparent, telling us what is wrong. Until now, they are still guessing what was the problem. So discipline includes telling the truth. I don't think they have so much discipline telling us what happened, the ailment up to today that he passed on. What I want to say is that the leaders at the various tiers, whether at the local government level, whether at the family level, whether at the state, that's sub-national level, whether at the presidential, that's at national level. If you find yourself as a leader, you have to be true to yourself. You have to also bring transparency, accountability. So because they could not build quality hospitals, we have so much money. And if you see how much they spend in all those, spending them without even accounting for them. Because as president, wherever he goes, Nigeria, both security, both money and the economy and everything goes with him. And if you remember then, he even refused to hand over to Shibanjo, who was the vice president. So no due process followed, no constitutional, no rule of law followed that practice. So when people talk about integrity, I don't know whether it's the same integrity that I know that they profess and speak about. So for me, some people are doing something. For instance, the governor of Enugu State now, you can see that coming from the private sector, he knew we needed hospital, and he's building one now, under 2 years. Some people spent 8 years, they couldn't build a clinic, or they would rather build an eye house without equipment, without drugs. And it's the same swan song that Abacha was singing when Buhari came in. We're talking about consulting clinics that they met after Shagari. And he stayed. And even while he was president at Asorok, the wife came out and told us that there's not even a Panadol in the Asorok clinic. That is the presidential villa. They don't have nothing there. But people are paid to work there. So you can see people are not living true to themselves. So all this hula baloo about people not being truthful and being accountable to the people, they have continued to do that. If you find yourself in a position of authority, you behave as if you become an emperor. And the people, quite unlike what democracy is, the democracy, the transparency, the rule of law, it is an offense When you are a president or governor and you travel, don't tell us where you are going. You don't tell us why you are traveling. You don't tell us the elements, but you use our money to pay. You use our security people. You use our aircraft to travel. You use our fuel to move. So it is not transparency. So I don't see any integrity in what people do. What annoys people is when you talk about somebody is a custodian of integrity, discipline, and but they are neither here nor there. So if you know we need hospital, why can't we build one after 8 years? You still run to UK.
Coming
and I'm coming, and you can see that what we call elite deceit. You can see that conspiracy of the elite and what I call hypocrisy of the Western world. Even UK people that sit with him, and like the clergy there, they say the head of the clergy is his friend. That is the man in charge of the Anglican church. They say he sits with him when he was sick. And when we saw him, everybody was alarmed when we saw his feature. He looked so skeletal, he looked so sickly. And he also confessed that he had never been that sick before. Yes, so you can see, and after that, you came back to the position. You didn't even think of building or equipping hospitals up till now. Some of them are also passing out of the positions. The president, the current president is still doing the same thing, going to France for this. And so it becomes endemic. Nobody is accountable. And the National Assembly is supposed to check and balance their actions. Are like kowtowing, are like rubber stamp. And they even tell you, yes, they are rubber stamp. What can you do about it?
All right, so let's look at the effect of the death of the former president in a hospital in London. What effect would it have on international countries? What perception will it have on Nigeria? She has already mentioned the part of the clinic, the hospitals not being in shape. The impression people get outside this part of the world. You mentioned Africa. What they have in mind is malaria, sick people. They don't have the money or the funds to take care of themselves. And now the president of a great country, the giant of Africa, former president, died in another hospital in London. What effect, perception will this have on Africa and Nigeria as a country? Well,
you have answered the question yourself. It's ironic. Where you see people spending money, raw money, cash. You see them living big, spending people's money, and they cannot account for it. And we are laughing stock among the Committee of Nations. The perception is that we are just jokers. A president from Western world called us shitholes. He said that we don't know anything about enjoyment and relationships. Just look at us as second-class citizens. Meanwhile, in the hospitals there are Nigerian doctors, Nigerian nurses, Nigerian paramedics, because we have brain. Whenever we go, we prosper. But the leadership is the problem. They cannot lead well. They cannot make example. Because I know in the early 80s, early 70s and late 80s, Saudi princes and kings come to Nigeria. They come to UCH Ibadan for treatment. I know in my first year, second year in the university, it is people from India, people from Bangladesh, people from China that come to teach. Ghanaians are teaching in secondary schools and universities. Well, what is going on today? People are running away. People are, they call it Jakpa. Because of what is going on. You see, a foreign policy is a product of your domestic policy. So when you have, when you just kill the system, at a point, a former military president was saying that, our economy is so resilient that they cannot even destroy it. Whatever they do to it, it stands resilient. Today, it has bowed to pressure. Our economy have collapsed. Yeah, so, and our people are just worsted for it.
Yeah, to add to that question, is it possible, that the institution of the House of Representatives come up with a law that, coming up with a law that if you are coming for public office, be it hospital, be it school, your family, your school, your children should attend to schools in Nigeria. You as the president or your children should attend to hospitals if you're not feeling fine in Nigeria. Whatever public service that you need should be in Nigeria. Do you think that could encourage, the infrastructural development in the country?
Well, ideally, that's what it should be. But it's utopian. Your suggestion looks utopian. It looks utopian because the same people that are also, because executive or members of government is not restricted to the executive. Members of the legislative arm, the Senate President, the executive in the parliamentary section, even the judicial people, most of them run away. They go to far-flung countries carrying cash up and down, dollars, to spend Nigerians' money. And at the end of the day, they still perish. They still die, just like every other person will die. So in ideal situations, no American president, even in South Africa, their presidents, even the great Nelson Mandela, never traveled outside any place for his medical, even until he came to breathe his last. He have hospitals in South Africa. Where they go? They have, whether you call it presidential hospital, whether you call it, they don't travel outside because they have enough. They have money to build hospitals, equip it, and men, trusted men who have good education to deal with it. Okay. So in this situation here, it's such a hopeless situation that everybody. So the people who are thinking that we're going to make law, how can they make such a law? They can't do such a law now because it will involve them. They don't do law that will indict them. They will not. They will not. It didn't start today. Almost 65 years of independence. When they come, they do the same thing. Let me tell you now, if there is a military coup now, people will celebrate again. I saw people chanting and, children singing and dancing in Kano today, online, because the same man that in fact, they thought was God when he was coming to become president. So you can see the irony of it. They are not even shameful. They are not ashamed. The leaders are not ashamed, with all due respect. Because if they are ashamed, they do things and turn things around. Because small countries, America may not be richer than us. The potential, what God has bestowed on Nigeria, men, material, natural resources, yet they trifle with it, they mess it up, and they get away. And they also come to die. Okay. Like other people.
So tomorrow is being declared a public holiday to honor the death of the former president, tomorrow Tuesday. What lessons can Nigerian future leaders and even the current leaders learn from former President Mohammadu Buhari?
Nigerians like holidays. They like holidays.
Both from his failures and also his achievements.
You see, they like holidays, like I said. So he's buried today. Okay, that's maybe because he's president, because Muslims, that same day, don't allow the following day to come. They buried the president. The day Abacha died, he was buried that day in Kano. They said the same thing with Mohammed. Talking about Yaradua, those who died in office. Yeah. Immediately he came back midnight, he was buried the following day. Muslims don't go to mortuary. If you leave Muslim, there will be no mortuary. They don't need it. So because all those public holidays are just, unnecessary ephemeral public events and the delaying productivity. Because as far as I'm concerned, if you even ask Mohammadu Buhari, the man that is there, if you ask him, he will say, there's no need for that. Because I know him for being pious, but in an environment, both internal and external environment, they will influence your behavior, they will influence your conduct. He may want to be strict, but they will overwhelm him. The time he was president, he said that his problem is the judiciary, because he would like to send people to prison without trial. But that is not the way the law is made. So all those holidays and all this are just Nigerian way. Even if he's sick, they want to declare public holiday because the president is sick. So let alone that he's dead, they still look at him as, some people have what we call cult followership. Whether he did well or not, they still believe in him. If he comes back now, they'll vote for him again. Whether he did well or he didn't well. The same thing that people have a sense of entitlement. That this is my turn. The presidents of over 200 and something million people, somebody will come up and say it's his turn. So how many turns will other people take? Not because of qualification, not because of anything, just that he felt that in their circle of leaders, it is his turn. And no other thing. So we are supposed to be, mourning Nigeria, not mourning individuals. Nigeria is a place where people make us a laughing stock, the leadership particularly. Because wherever you go, if they see how Trump is, victimizing people with our, passports. They see with Nigerian passports, they say, I want to reduce 5 years to 3 months. When you come to spend their money, people are inviting investors, people are inviting people to come on holiday and spend their money. Look at the way they are treating us. It is because of the leaders. There's no other way they can express their disappointment. It's what's happening in Nigeria. So that's the way to tell us. So don't wait for them because of diplomacy to come and tell us that we have very hopeless leaders. Remember, I recall the time Mohammadu Buhari, the former president that died now, had an encounter with the president of America. He was almost, cursing that day as a wasted day. He said a lot of unpredictable things because somebody who is not prepared. This position, people get prepared. People, help themselves get enough education. He has not, even from that 1985-87 till when he became president, 2015. Nobody have ever seen him reading newspaper or listening to news or even going to school presenting paper. He refused to, go for a presidential debate. He just felt that it is his turn and he's over and above. Each time he contests an election, he go to Supreme Court thinking that he won. You can't win with one zone. You have to have, an embrace, a handshake across the Niger or Benue. And that is what, the president, enabled him to do. Ahmed Tinubu, when he now said that he cried and said he's no longer going to try. And he extended the hand of fellowship and said, look, if I, work with you, you'll become president. And he did. He tried other people. He tried the National Security Advisor. He tried Atiku. He gave them money, gave them platforms. So that is why he felt that, this is my turn.
And that's
sense
why
of
he's in power.
entitlement. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Austin. Yes. That's the most we can take on this conversation.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you so much for joining us and giving us this insight.
Save Nature TV, news in your pocket.